First time in over 700 days, the RLCS will be meeting for a LAN. It's been almost as long since G2 had won an A-tier tournament, dating back to Season 9. Both of these facts have been changed for the better, as G2 is riding high after their latest victory in the third regional of the North American Fall Split. Heading into Stockholm, G2 is really taking form, having league-leading offensive output and the second highest winning percentage of any team in the region, just a fraction behind the perennial favorites NRG. But how is it that G2 is competing at this level? Let's examine how G2 does what they do and how their style allows them to be a top performer for NA for the fall split. Very few teams' offenses are as heralded as G2's, but what elements of their game plan comprise this attack? In short, the answer is pass-focused. Interchangeable roles allowing the team to consistently outshoot their opponents. But digging into this a little bit deeper, Chicago and Dreaz play very similar roles, not allowing teams to hone in on defending a single player. Both utilize mechanics to break down defenses and keep them honest. These mechanics, like playing off the sidewall for air dribbles, allow them to open up free lanes to remove focus from the midfield, where both players love passing to. From the midfield, both Dreaz and Chicago possess high-level shooting speed, rifling shots at opponents' nets, forcing them to scramble on defense. Within this framework, JKnaps plays a critical role cleaning up goals with precision shooting, sometimes with an off-speed approach defenses aren't expecting. If teams catch on to this shooting approach G2 is bringing, JKnaps can break them down with his top-tier solo mechanical plays, typically opting for double taps to himself, starting from the ground in the opponent's box, but also his teammates love tossing him the ball as well to do his own mechanical plays. This approach has proven effective, as G2 has only lost to 3 teams in the fall split, which are FaZe, Complexity, formerly True Neutral, and NRG. This speaks to G2's consistency in their approach, not dropping a single series to a team not in the upper echelon of the region. So a little caveat before we talk about some stats. In these examples, I'm using a per 5-minute metric as opposed to a total or a per game metric. The reasoning here is, let's do total first. If you're using a total metric, that kind of hurts you if you're a team that is just consistently mopping other teams. If you're only playing 3 games as opposed to somebody who's playing 6 games, then your totals are going to be way lower than worse teams, right? In the same way that we're using that instead of a game metric as well, because what if your games go to overtime or whatever it is? This per 5-minute metric is similar to in basketball. If you follow the NBA, they use a per 48 metric. So it's kind of just giving us a more consistent way to look at these players as opposed to looking at a total or a game metric. So that's enough of a caveat. Let's go ahead and get into some stats. So G2 just cannot stop outshooting their opponents. Per 5 minutes, G2 is shooting a full 2 goals more than their opponents. Teams literally cannot keep up with this output. This comes not only from the onslaught of shots G2 is putting on net, forcing their opponents to make tough saves and utilize boost, but it is also due to the fact that teams can't even shoot on G2. I mean, no team is allowing less shots on goal over the first 3 regional events than the 6.8 allowed by G2. So not only are they just completely outshooting their opponents, but also they're not allowing teams to shoot on them as well. And of course, their offense fuels this approach, right? But it allows them to have a firm and reliable defense on the other end as well. The offense is not only suffocating, but decidedly diplomatic as well for G2. They're not relying overwhelmingly on any one player to succeed. So first off, look at Chicago. He's kind of the linchpin of this team. He is the engine that is making this whole thing cook, even though it is not possible without his teammates. If you had to choose one person off this team who is leading the proverbial charge, I would pick Chicago. Chicago is the most consistent scorer in NA, scoring almost a goal per 5 minutes. This is well above other top shooters in the RLCS, such as First Killer or Justin. The difference maker here is Chicago's consistency, where Justin and First Killer have specific regionals that tank their averages. Chicago is shooting at a high clip in every single event so far. Chicago's main opponent for offensive stats, to no surprise of anyone, is First Killer, and they have a similar approach, right? But there's nuances within their approaches that kind of make the data make more sense. For example, no one shoots as much as First. First Killer's average shots attempted is higher than Chicago's highest mark for any matches. meaning that even when Chicago is shooting his most, he still can't keep up pace with First Killer's average. This stat is deceptive though, because even though First Killer is putting shots on net at an unmatchable pace, Chicago still scores more goals per average. So this is a product of shot selection. So like for comparison on that one, let's dig a little deeper, because everybody loves talking about First Killer. First Killer's best shooting event so far, he shot 23%. When we compare that to Chicago's worst shooting day, he posted 24%. So even when Chicago is shooting at his lowest percentage, he's still higher than First Killer's highest percentage. So while they're both shooting a high volume of shots, Chicago's approach leans more heavily into quality over quantity. Both Dreaz and Chicago rely heavily on power to create their chances. By hitting the ball as hard as possible, they loosen up the team's defense and forcing them to scramble a bit. These power shots are most impressive when taken from the air, as both players seemingly create power off touches you wouldn't normally expect. The hardest and most effective power shots oftentimes come from the midfield, where G2's heralded passing mixes into this. Dreaz is a fantastic power shooter like Chicago. He's a great passer who possesses fantastic speed as well. Dreaz still catches some flack from some fans. I think this is focusing too much on small inconsistencies. Like sometimes Dreaz will miss a hit or be inaccurate on a shot, but in general, he's a phenomenal young talent. An important factor for me is that he isn't inconsistent due to nerves or anything. I mean, he still shows up in big moments all the time, especially defensively. Although JKnaps shows up the least on the stat sheet, he's crucial to G2's performance. JKnaps not only is heavily relied on for booming clears and passes downfield, but his accuracy is what makes him special. Whether shots on net or passes, JKnaps is on the money constantly with his precision. Like this double tap he has here against Envy. I mean, the angle is so tight, Atomic there's nothing he can do to stop that. Or here we see Chicago hook one into JKnaps and he puts this just out of reach of the Envy defenders. I mean, Envy is known as an incredible defensive team. This is a 200 IQ play here by Chicago, but look at the placement on this ball. I mean, Turbo is so close to saving that, but JKnaps keeps it just out of reach. Or even here, JKnaps with the boom, but not just a boom, an incredibly accurate boom to Chicago, going back to that power we were talking about. And then JKnaps right there to clean it up. He uses some physicality. This is something that he's not really talked about a lot for either, is his ability to be physical. Similar to somebody like a Garrett G, or basically anybody you want to pick off of the Envy side of things. We're going to see a little more physicality here as well. Chicago really doesn't have much until JKnaps deletes the NRG defense. Especially when we see JKnaps play on the Fennec. This is something he likes to go for a lot. Turns, Garrett Sia, Justin Sia, and the ball rolls right into the net. But yeah, guys, that is it for breaking down G2, everything that they did in the first 3 regional events and what their performance looked like in this fall split. I hope you guys enjoyed the content. Maybe you would be interested in some more content like this video I did somewhere over here about the last LAN event that we had when we were in Madrid, Spain for one of the finals. But yeah, that is it for G2. It's tough. We don't really know what they're going to look like and how they'll perform within regions. We really haven't got to see the regions play each other for 2 years now, so that's exciting. Really the only team that G2 has struggled with consistently in the first 3 regionals is NRG. That's less about G2's performance and more about the fact that NRG is just fantastic. But really excited to see what G2 looks like in Stockholm. I'm planning on putting out videos like this more moving forward. I'm going to aim for once a week, some content like this where it's just some clips, some observations, breaking it down. So if there's any other teams that you guys are interested in going over, please leave them in the comments below and I'm more than happy to give them a look. But guys, thank you again. And until next time, I'll see you.